Coming up on CHGO Cubs, can Shota and Steele be the 1-2 punch that puts them back on the map? Plus, winners and losers so far in that bullpen battle. We're wishing happy birthday to two Chicago Cubs legends, Kyle Schwarber and Nick Madrigal. CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by Toyota. It is Wednesday, March 5th, and we are ready to talk Cubs baseball with you. Spring training continues out in Arizona. Cody's headed there tomorrow. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo with you. Sean Anderson running the ones and twos for us. Hello to everybody that's out there in the live YouTube chat. Gary, I see you. Craig, Becky, the regulars are lining up. The sickos are standing in line to get on the show. Make sure you hit that thumbs up on the way in, guys. Please.
We said please.
Please. Hit it one more time. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the bullpen and how things maybe could be better. And really, we talked about how they've stockpiled arms. Who's starting to separate themselves and who's looked good so far this spring. We'll talk a little bit about Justin Turner. He blasted his former team, which was fun. And hopefully he doesn't have to do that about the Cubs next season. And Shota. We're going to talk Shota as well. But, Cody, you are getting ready to go to Arizona. Have you packed your bags?
I started this morning. And, yeah, I'm excited to pack shorts. I think that's my biggest excitement about it.
Pack some shorts.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about wearing shorts in a long time.
I think you can make a good case to wear shorts today. It is like 50 degrees here in Chicago, but it's going to be good weather out in Arizona. Looking forward to changing the attire once I get into the hotel tomorrow.
Very nice. A little jealous, not going to lie. Wish I was going to the sunshine.
I wish I could drag you with me.
It is time for our Sam Adams American Light What's Brewing segment on today's show. What's brewing is Shota Imanaga. Looked pretty good yesterday. Looked like he was season ready. Looked like he was ready to go for the opener, now less than 2 weeks away from the season opener in Japan, the Tokyo series. By the way, if people are wondering, we are going to do postgame.
Yep.
Right. I mean, and right after the game. That means we'll be here at like 4:45 in the morning.
I think it legitimately could be the first time Luke Stuckmeyer falls asleep.
It's possible, but again, remember, I'm more used to being up at 5 in the morning than you are.
That's fair. Maybe I will lose my.
It's earlier than normal, but I've also last night I was up from 2:45 to 3:45.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah,
it was longer than that.
We'll be in here. Well, you are already committed to getting do-right donuts somehow, some way. You said it on yesterday's show.
I don't believe I said that. All I said was that I think Uber Eats and DoorDash in those places actually do deliver do-right.
I think we have a clip of you saying that you were going to
I don't
buy
think
them.
I ever said that.
Cody,
I don't think I ever said it.
2 against 1? Cody?
Yeah,
2 against 1.
If you show me the proof. And even if you show me the proof, then it might be day-old donuts. Because I don't know what time they open up, but I'm going to guess it is not 4 o'clock. All right, so Shota looks great. He seems ready. 4 innings, no runs, 3 strikeouts. My question has become this, as I start to watch him more and we know what he did. Is Steele still the ace? If somebody from out of town says to you, who's the ace of the Cubs? Is it Steele or is it Shota?
I just think there's more proven from Justin Steele at the major league level. He was in the Cy Young race 2 years ago. I think he could have potentially maybe been in that race again last year if he didn't have that injury in Texas in the first game of the year. He started the first game of the year for a reason last year, right? Shota's going to start the technical opening day this year, and that makes a ton of sense since it's in Japan. And I really don't care if it would have been him or Steele. They're both going to pitch in Japan. They're a great tandem. They're a great 1-2 tandem overall. I still think, like I said yesterday, they need another guy to be at the top. I would prefer that got generated more whiffs than those guys, but I think for this team, for what they have, those are their top two guys, and those are guys that I feel like will pitch meaningful innings. And if they do get to October, I feel pretty confident about the production they can give them, in a highly stressful game, just because we've kind of seen it before last season, and even 2 years ago with Steele. So, I think they're fine. They're good as a top 1-2. I think the Cubs could do better to benefit them both. What I'm saying doesn't necessarily take away from them. It's more about, I think we all can sit here and agree that one more guy in that rotation would have actually made Justin Steele and Shota Imanaga even more valuable.
We both asked for it. We said, give us a frontline starter, even if it's a number 2. But Gary in the live YouTube chat suggests they don't have a true ace. His definition of ace is a shutdown pitcher who's top tier. He thinks the Cubs have 2 number 2 starters.
I wouldn't disagree.
I'll push back on both sides of it. I'm not. It's not a black and white issue. It really isn't. It's very close. I could see either one of those guys having a season this year that puts them in the Cy Young conversation. They both kind of had. If Steele can stay healthy, he's in a Cy Young conversation. He's that dependable. If Shota doesn't take that dip mid-season, he could be in a Cy Young conversation. I think it's possible that they have 2 guys that are 2 pluses. They're not number 2 starters. They're like 2 plus. So maybe it's like ace minus. What's your definition of ace? Does every team have an ace?
Every good team does.
Every team that has like their number 1 starter, whoever that might be, is that guy an ace, or are there only like 5 aces in all of baseball? Sean?
Thank you so much, Luke, for including me.
I can tell you were anxious.
Well, I just wanted to – it's easy for me as a White Sox fan to jump into this conversation because I can look at our rotation that has 3 pitchers. Yeah. Usually you need 5, so we only have 3, and none of them are good or proven enough.
Yeah.
So the White Sox definitely don't have an ace.
But what's your definition of ace?
I think ace is exactly what Gary said. I mean, it's not every team has an ace. It's a guy that can pretty consistently, like his average is 7 innings of dominating like 3 earned runs at the most. Like better than a quality start is this guy's average.
Aren't Steele and Shota on that or in that conversation? I feel like Steele's definitely in that conversation. Shota only wouldn't be in the conversation because of it's only 1 year at the major league level.
Yeah.
But if Shota were to start off this season on the same path that he had last year, how could you not consider him in the ace conversation?
Well, I think a lot of fans look at when you define ace, someone who consistently goes deep into games, 7 innings, sometimes 8. But like
which is hardly anybody anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like when you look at the number of pitchers who pitched 200 innings last year, when you think of some of the best pitchers that we have pointed out many times over the years, the ones that I think of, the best pitchers in the league, they're not leading the league in innings pitched. Logan Gilbert, who I do think is really good and, part of what could be the best rotation in baseball, he's number 1 in innings pitched last year. Then Seth Lugo for the Royals. Logan Webb for the Giants is probably considered the ace for them. Mm-hmm. Would you consider him an ace? He's not one of the top 5 that's coming off the top of my head whenever I'm thinking of aces. Zach Wheeler, okay, he's one that I definitely have up there as an ace. All right. Corbin Burns, 194 innings last year. He's been an ace throughout his career. I think he's one of the guys that I certainly think of when you think of like their career path.
By the way, they have a good 1-2 punch.
Who the
Arizona?
Oh yeah, with Zach Gallen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess when you talk about aces, I just don't think you can consider them aces anymore in terms of innings pitched, because when I think of aces, I'm thinking of Garrett Cole. I'm thinking of a guy like Dylan Cease, a guy who we've talked about all winter, right? There's so many other names, and the four that I mentioned who led the league in innings pitched last year, only Zach Wheeler is the one that I would have put up there as one of the five guys I would have thought up off the top of my head, So maybe obviously this is subjective. Other people could think of these names, but just for me personally, I would have probably guessed Zach Wheeler of those four. And so I think in this era of baseball that we're living in, if you're a starter, I think you got to be able, if you're going to be considered an ace, you got to be a guy who can give you not only quality innings, but can go deep into games more often than not. And at this point in this era of baseball, we're talking about 6 innings at least. And then a guy who is probably among the top 10 in strikeouts per 9.
I think your guy has to be easily has to be in the top 5 of your league.
Yeah.
Minimum. Now, it could be higher than that, but if you're top 5 in the National League as a pitcher, you're an ace. I would agree with Gary. Not every team has an ace. There are some bad teams that do not have aces. But the Cubs have guys that are right on the fringe. I don't think they're as good as 2016 or 2016 Lester Arrieta. Okay? They're not there. But this is the Cubs' best 1-2 combo since those two guys.
Yeah.
And I could see them both having seasons that at least pushed them to like 2017 Lester and Arrieta. Arrieta in 2015 is so off the charts that I think we may never see a Cubs pitcher have that season again. But this is their best combo since those guys.
I don't think either of them just last long enough. And if one was to be considered an ace, I think it is Shota. Just looking at a number since 2022 to 2024 in regular season, games with 7 innings or more pitched and 3 earned runs allowed or less. Justin Steele has 12 since 2022 up to 2024. Shota just last year had 10. So Shota was just very efficient at getting to that 7th inning, not allowing a ton of runs, and keeping the Cubs into the game. So I think at least Shota, what he showed last year, is more ace-like than Steele.
Sure,
that's fair. That's a good stat for that argument. There's no question about it. I don't think ace and superstar are equal either, right? Like I think when you talk about professional sports and you say, well, they don't have a superstar. We talked about that forever with the Cubs. I don't think to be an ace, you necessarily have to be a superstar. For me, superstars are like 3 guys in all of baseball, right? Like the top 4 players in baseball, and everybody knows them, right? Juan Soto is a superstar. Bryce Harper's a superstar. Judge is a superstar. Ohtani is a superstar. But an ace should be pretty close to that level. So that would be a knock for me to say maybe Shota and Steele have a little more proving to do before I would say that they're a true 1A ace. But boy, they're right on the fringe, and this season could be the year where both of them push that slogan.
To push the Shota side to it, I mentioned strikeouts per 9 earlier. Just to list them, the top 5 pitcher or I believe starting pitchers in strikeouts per 9 last year. Chris Sale, number 1, coming off the change of scenery in Atlanta, wins NL Cy Young. Sonny Gray, Jack Flaherty, Cole Reagans, and Tariq Skubal. So I would say 2 or 3 of those 5, I think most people would be pretty like, yeah, those are an ace. I mean, Sonny Gray's been a couple years ago he's in the Cy Young race. He's been good with the Cardinals. I would not have guessed that he was number 2 with strikeouts per 9 starting pitchers last year. But Shota is number 21. He's 21st in all of baseball in strikeouts per 9 at 9.03, which number 1 is 11.40 for Chris Sale. So, it's not some big difference or anything, but to Sean's point about being able to go 7 innings and then the fact of, his Ks per 9 last year. I still feel like he also, as we mentioned a lot, the weather at Wrigley really benefited him last year. So I do have concerns about negative regression in 2025, but sure, maybe I think you can make that argument.
Maybe the weather at Wrigley last year is the ace of the Cubs pitching staff. More on that in just a second, but first a word from our sponsors. It's March, and we were all just blessed with some good luck. You want madness this month? How about $6 cocktails? Head to Hooters for $6 cocktails all day, every day. Enjoy an Absolute or a Bacardi single mix cocktail for just $6 every day at Hooters, or try Hooters' legendary margarita. So sweet, so tasty, so cheap. Yep, you guessed it, just $6 all day, every day. Often imitated, never duplicated. The original Hooters has been one of a kind since 1983. I love the barbecue wings. Honey barbecue. Oh, and now I'm into the honey Thai they brought in the other day. Hello, happiness. Cheer on your favorite team from one of their 11 Chicagoland Hooters locations. I drive by the one in O'Hare. There's one in Schaumburg, Wells Street. There's always one available to you. You can even order online for pickup and delivery. Check them out at originalhooters.com. I have a question. Who's going out to Arizona?
Me.
That guy. Credit to him. Cody Delmendo. Who's going to Arizona to see a little baseball this spring? Well, welcome to the future. I've got something for you. Whmo is an autonomous ride-hailing service that operates in the Phoenix metro area. Don't rent a car, Cody. Waymo's autonomous ride-hailing service consists of entirely all-electric Jaguar I-Pace vehicles, providing a consistent zero-emission experience for our riders. 150,000 trips per week across San Francisco, LA, and Phoenix. Whmo is the first company to serve as a fully autonomous ride with no human behind the wheel. They did that in 2015. They have over 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. That's enough to drive to the moon and back 80 times. So if you're like Cody and you're going to Arizona for spring training, download the Whmo One app and get ready to experience the future.
As you were reading that, I finally downloaded the app
Boom.
because I plan to try it out on tomorrow.
Try it out. You're going to live on it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and so the
Content, all the content you're going to do from those Whmo rides?
Yeah. Well, the Friday game is at where the Cubs play the Sox, but at the Sox, was it Camelback Ranch, Sean?
Yes.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm gonna see how Whmo gets me there. So
I'll tell you how they're going to get you there nicely.
Yeah.
In the futuristic.
Well, the best thing for Cody is he could talk to himself like a maniac and film all of the social clips
All the
just
rants,
in the car.
I'm saying. All the rants, all the content could be done in the car.
No driver to bug him.
Brought to you by Whmo. So, yeah. Can't
Be a
wait.
good smelling car, everything.
To kind of finish up what we were talking about, I just want to preface that I'm not like, I feel really good about Steele and Shota as like guys who are going to get the Cubs through the season and be productive and be what we've seen them be. I think my biggest concern though is just what if one of them, goes through a slump, and I just, you're relying a lot on young guys who haven't proven anything yet. And that's why I feel like that third guy that was the next tier above them, or at least proven to be the next tier above them, would have really set this rotation up nicely for 2025. In a season that it feels like the Cubs are, pushing. It feels like they are, but they're not, because if they were, they would have just spent all the money for Bregman. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we can all confidently sit here and say that they needed another guy. So, and if they had got that other guy, I think I would feel a lot more confident in getting the same type of results from Steele and Imanaga in 2025. So I hope that they prove my concern or pessimism about the situation wrong.
Here's what I would say, Cody. I don't think it's a guarantee that they have those types of seasons, but if you're thinking about things going into the season that worry you, they would be low on my list, right? As a 1-2, they're probably not the best 1-2 combo in their own division, but they are one of the better 1-2 combos in the National League.
Sure.
The Pirates might have one of the best ones in all of baseball.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the Cubs are the best one in the division, but
No.
it's a pretty good combo.
Yeah. No, I feel pretty confident with every fifth day, if Steele is starting or Shota is starting, I feel like that's a great day. The Cubs have a chance to win, no doubt. My concern is not having the extra starter that we all wanted, and two, like I pointed at the end of the last segment, like if we're going to talk about how the weather hurt the Cubs offense last year, then it helped the Cubs pitching staff.
But it could be the same weather this year.
But it won't, and you know it won't.
It's never the same weather. It's never.
And Shota gave up 20-plus homers last year. Thankfully, a lot of them were solo shots. I'm not saying that he's going to give up 30 or 40 bombs as a pitcher. I'm just saying, like, there could be some of those numbers could regress in a negative way based off that thinking.
I've turned into the positive one here. I don't know what happened. I don't know when it happened, but all of a sudden I'm Captain Positive.
That is not true. Once we get off camera, you're going to tell me you're exactly right.
Okay, question. This Kyle, we're talking about Kyle Tucker earlier today before the show started, and we watched the Bears guys just drool over themselves about Joe Tunney being traded for with the Bears. Does seem like a pretty good deal for the Bears, right?
Yeah.
They finally have a top-tier offensive lineman. First team All-Pro at a position, okay? Is Kyle Tucker that to the Cubs? The superstar you've been begging for? Because remember, Tunney isn't going to be there forever for the Bears. But go just for one season. This season, is he the big cure-all for the Bears, and is Tucker the cure-all for the Cubs offense?
I mean,
I
just
think
know
panacea is the word, but
all I know is that Tunney, played for the Patriots, played for the Chiefs, won multiple Super Bowls. Like, it brought this is going to bring this leadership type factor.
He was
a lot of success.
He was a top 10 rated offensive player last year.
Right. Like an offensive lineman? Yeah.
No, offensive player.
Oh, offensive player?
Yeah, which
Kyle Tucker is considered one of the top 20 hitters in baseball. I think you can make an argument. Like, it goes back to what you're saying about, like, what's a star, superstar, stuff like that. We're talking about offensive linemen compared to baseball here. It's kind of tough.
Yeah, we're talking about a guard versus.
We're not talking about quarterbacks here.
Yeah,
so I guess.
But he does protect that quarterback.
Yeah. No, I
has been Swiss cheese on the O-line.
I do think that it's comparable in the fact that the Bears have desperately needed like a high tier offensive lineman like that for a really long time, and the Cubs desperately needed a superstar caliber player, which is what Kyle Tucker is. If you want to sit here and argue about who's a superstar or not, he's at least a star caliber player.
Agreed.
I think that's truly the difficulty there, is just as Cody said, football versus baseball. I would say Kyle Tucker's more akin to a skill position player. And I think even though Tooney, graded out by PFF as a top 10 offensive player, who's the guy behind center? And, if it's a different guy behind center, does Tooney's numbers look worse? I just think Tucker is such an immediate impact, and you're not sure how Tooney will work with all 5 of the linemen that they're going to bring in, if it will be something that meshes well. All Kyle Tucker does have to do is step in and hit home runs. It doesn't matter what Dansby Swanson and Suzuki are doing behind him, as long as Tucker does his job.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see at the end of the season which guy has a bigger impact this year on their team, right? Will it be Tucker, an extra bat and potential gold glove in right field for the Cubs, but again, it's just one guy in a lineup, versus a leader on the offensive line for the Bears, protecting Caleb Williams and also telling him what to do, and this is the way you do it, right? Like, which one will turn out to be more impactful? I don't know. I think there's a real good chance it's Kyle Tucker.
Yeah. I guess if Caleb Williams is having a huge sophomore season and it's very clear the offensive line has a big impact on that, then hopefully we both we can sit here and say that they both.
That the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. Yes.
That's what Chicago is hoping
that's
for.
That's what we're desperate for, man.
Yency Elmane, signed by the Cubs. Welcome back to a minor league deal.
Hell yeah, man.
When they first got him in the trade,
the Bush trade,
I was happy about it. Now, he didn't, because of injury, he didn't really have the impact last year, and the bullpen was a disaster. But do I see upside potential there? Yeah, he's in that list of bullpen arms that we've talked about where you could just put it on a scroll and go through your phone of guys the Cubs have had that you say, pretty good stuff. I kind of like this guy. He could maybe be something. And you keep scrolling down the list, and nobody's really, for a long period of time, grabbed the reins and said, yeah, I'm going to be your hater. I'm going to be, you know what I mean? Taking that and become the head of a bullpen or the most dependable guy in a bullpen. So we decided let's play bullpen winners and losers so far this spring because there are so many guys fighting for the spots in this bullpen, right?
Yeah. I'll say this before we get into that about Almonte. What's a minor league deal?
Yeah.
Gary says in the chat he won't be back till July because of the injury that he sustained last year.
Sure, he's not in this winners or losers conversation. Right. He's in the maybe he can help you at the end of the season.
Right. So I just think as a depth signing, it's a really good one because before that injury last year, he was actually somewhat the one guy in there that you felt pretty good about. But most fans don't remember because it was just like April. And then like maybe that first week of May
he was good when they couldn't hit also.
Yeah. So yeah, I just I'm fine with it. And I remember whenever like he was either waived or whatever it was, released,
DFA'd, whatever it was, I was disappointed.
I was pissed because he was part of a major trade. And so like looks like they played it right. And they're going to let him finish his rehab in Arizona probably throughout the season. And who knows, maybe he'll be a late season addition that helps them, take a path if someone's struggling or someone gets hurt or who knows. I don't know what to expect from him in 2025, but at the very least, he's someone that I have seen have success out of the bullpen for the Chicago Cubs. Small sample, but I'd like the addition of him to begin with when he came back in that trade. So you just need him to be healthy, and he's got to perform if he ever gets the opportunity, especially if it is mid-season, late season, whatever.
Feel like we should build a shirt that just has the names of every guy that could be good in the bullpen this year, right? And then highlight them when they have a good game, or maybe we just do a graphic, and then when they go to the other list when it's a bad game. Because there's just I can't identify which guy will stand out of that. I'm hopeful that like 2 or 3 of them will really be good this year, and I hope obviously top of the list probably you want to be good in that place is Presley.
Yeah. What we could do and is more viable is we get 2 whiteboards, like small ones, like the one that Sean has over there. Right.
And just constantly have the names on a list.
We have 2 of them. One says bad, one says good.
Good.
And
yeah.
we
I like this idea.
And we put what we want at the beginning of the season, and then we can we can during every post game we can update it and put who sucks and who's good.
Or instead of bad good, maybe it's my guy or our guy, and the other list instead of saying our guy could be cut him.
Yeah. Bad. Good.
Good, bad. Oh, yeah. Wow. There
you go.
That's high tech. Don't let anybody tell you we don't have top technology here at CHGO.
You can hold it good.
We have little kids' grease boards.
So we can, whenever we talk about
this. There it shows up. Good.
When we talk about this particular bullpen arm.
Hold that up, Cody, so everybody sees that I'm good
and I'm bad.
You're bad.
Yeah.
There we are. Good and bad. Batman and Robin.
This could be really good meme stuff. That might be bad for us, but
hi,
or especially me.
Who are you today? I'm good.
I'm bad. I'm bad.
That's the new segment. I'm good. I'm bad. And we'll tell names. for today, it's just winners and losers. Presley is the guy that you need to be there. Porter Hodge, who was the closer, and I still think will close a lot of games this year because you're not going to have one guy closing every game, because if you do, you're going to burn them out way too soon. So Porter Hodge has been a winner.
I need my board back. We got to take a break.
Oh, sorry.
We have to take a break.
Good. We have to take a break. We have sponsors. All right, we'll play winners and losers. That's a nice
little tease for y'all.
We'll play winners and losers in just a second. You want to talk about winners? Hey. The Chicago winter can be brutal, but Toyota helps make it easier. Toyota's got 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. They have more than any other auto brand out there. From the sleek Camry all-wheel drive to the Corolla hybrid all-wheel drive, or maybe the Toyota Tundra, a truck known for its power, durability, and off-road capabilities, perfect for Chicago winters. Heading to a big game, maybe you're packing the kids into a vehicle. The spacious Grand Highlander is the perfect ride with all-wheel drive to keep you and yours safe. Again, more than any other brand out there. So you bring the action. Toyota's going to bring the traction. Toyota, let's go places. Well, we had a big day yesterday. Yesterday was our third birthday here at CHGO. We had the incredible deal going on, $34 for a diehard. This is just a great time to still be a diehard. Join the sickos that are piling on our bandwagon, and we welcome everybody. Everyone. We do not discriminate. If you've got the dough, we're willing to be friends.
Hell yeah.
And we want to hang out with you. So access our exclusive written content. Get a free t-shirt, all that stuff. Discounts and more. Go to allchgo.com for the latest information on how to join thousands of diehards.
Cornbread hemp. You can get it online. I like to emphasize that after I looked like an idiot last week saying that you could go and get it in your Toyota. It's America's first ever USDA organic CBD company. Their mission at Cornbread is to improve your quality of life with the highest quality hemp. All right. Life's been a little crazy lately. I always like to point out Luke has a crazy life because he's got 2 kids at home. He's got to come here and deal with me for a couple hours a day. Sounds like a lot of stress.
How do you balance the gambling and work and all that stuff?
I mean, Tennessee Tech money line tonight. Let me tell you, it's gonna be a fun one to sweat. All right. One thing that helps me unwind, though, when I have all this stress or when Luke has all his stress is Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies. If you've been looking for a natural way to relieve aches and discomfort, the CBD gummies from Cornbread Hemp are formulated to work with your body, not against it. I'm not as young as I once was. Neither is Luke. Not an old joke. Just
Nobody
being
is.
honest. But I care a lot about maintaining my physical and mental wellness. Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies are a huge piece of my wellness plan and Luke's wellness plan. All right, he's been telling me all about it. If you've tried everything under the sun for peace of mind, it sounds like it's time for you to try Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies. All right, I hate flying. I'm gonna go to Arizona tomorrow. I might pop one of these gummies when I'm in if they had Whmo here, they don't.
Sure.
But if in my Uber, I might pop one in the Uber on my way to the airport because it helps me relax.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And it doesn't matter. You're just going to be, right in the Whmo afterwards, the autonomous ride.
Exactly. So it's whatever stresses you out. If you're stressed out, man, you got to give these things a try. You can do that right now. They're offering CHGO listeners 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/CHGO and use promo code CHGO at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/CHGO and use code CHGO for 30% off your first order. This is the good life, Luke.
Cody and Luke, before we get into winners and losers, we do have a Toyota chat from our guy, Craig Brindle, suggesting on the winners and losers things. Look at that car drive off. It's dog or not a dog.
Dog or not a dog. I kind of like that. I really do like the idea. Like for post game this season, we'll just on opening day in Japan when they go to Japan, we put the bullpen arms that we feel negative about going into the season, and you put the good ones on the other one, and then we'll just move them to each list. If one guy is good, we'll put him on the good list.
I think we should we'll put him on the bad list. We should print out little magnets on a magnet board so we can slide them. But the grease board works. I also think maybe dog, D-A-W-G, and then just dog, D-O-G.
I don't think people would necessarily get it, but
one guy's an absolute dog, and the other guy's a dog.
Right.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
no. Now
See
you're
what I'm saying?
No, now you're confusing me because
What if I say G-O-double-G? Now you're totally thrown off.
The last one threw me off because it sounded like he's a dog, like positive, and then he's
this
a
guy's-
dog, negative.
No, listen to me. This guy's a dog. That's terrible.
No, that sounds like it'd be good. Like that's
oh,
nasty.
he's a dog. Instead, I say he's a dog.
Yeah.
We could do what
We
Godfather
need more
says.
dogs.
Dog or dog.
We need more dogs. We don't need less cat.
We
We
could
got
do
dogs and then guys that are in the dog house.
We could do what Godfather says. Godfather says, "Stinks, don't stinks."
I like
mean,
dog and
that's-
dog house.
Oh, dog house. Okay, I like that. Yeah.
We're planning out the year. Anyways, winners and losers from the bullpen right now. Ryan Brasier was brought on. He had 2 strikeouts yesterday. He's gone 3 innings, no runs. Now, my concern is that he's 37, but he's got success in his back pocket. He's a veteran presence. I like to see that he's off to a good spring, even though a veteran guy like that could just be working on a few things, trying to get through it. He's done that and put up good numbers in the spring. So far, big winner. He was going to be part of the bullpen no matter what, but so far he's been a winner.
It's better to see him do good than bad, especially at his age. I remember last year, Hector Neris didn't exactly have the best spring last year, and, he went on to not be good. So just saying, I think for some of these older guys, the relievers especially, again, as someone who doesn't necessarily take spring results to heart, in some instances, it makes some sense. And this guy coming to a new organization, good to see him get off to a nice little start here in the spring.
Porter Hodge is also off to a good start. Again, another guy that's probably already in Sharpie in the bullpen, clearly, but good to see him with like 5 strikeouts, looking good, looking like the guy that was mowing him down at the end of last season. And if he can be a 1-2 punch at the back end of that bullpen with Presley, now you're starting to look at something. So we have 2 guys now that are on the winners list. That's positive. And again, we know that spring training doesn't mean a ton.
Yeah.
But it's better than the alternative, them getting just absolutely lit up in Cactus League action.
Yes. There's a reason why the Cubs keep winning spring training games, because guys keep performing well.
Okay, so here's a guy that I think's interesting that a lot of us have forgotten about. I know I have.
Yeah.
And then I remember Julian Merriweather. I'd say take out your Sharpie and put him in the bullpen. He's had great moments. There have been injuries. So far this spring, 4 innings, no runs, 5 strikeouts. Couldn't ask for more.
Right.
And it's early, but I think he could be a guy that's really critical to Craig Counsell. When you're starting to try and not get Hodge and Presley too many high-leverage innings, you don't want to march him out there for a save. You don't want to march him out there in a game that you might win, but you're not sure. Merriweather. That's a third arm that I could see going into that closer role, high leverage situations. If he's healthy, I've loved what I've seen of him in a Cubs uniform.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year is just kind of like an outlier, and honestly, it just goes into like what his career has kind of been, and that's the risk with him. But it's not like you're paying him a ton of money anyway. I'm triggering Godfather, I know, but in 23, he was. You could make the argument in 23 he was the second best reliever on the team, behind ALLCITY. He was a solid setup man there. And when ALLCITY got hurt, then they had to use him more than they even wanted to probably. And they could. There's a whole reason, and I'm not going down that path. But obviously in 23 he kind of emerged. He was one of the guys who exceeded projections in 23. Last year, I just think it was injury filled. And so this spring he's shown so far that he's healthy. And that's good because this guy throws gas, got great stuff, and he's got experience. So right now, I think he's making the roster.
I think he's a dog.
Yeah, he goes on the good list.
He goes on the good list, the DAWG.
DAWG, yes.
So we have Brasier on the list. We have Hodge on the winners list. We have Merriweather on the list. We hope that Presley's on that list. Eli Morgan was like one of the first pieces they added to that bullpen, right? He'd been in Cleveland. ERA under 2 in 4 games. I think he's sharpied into that roster anyways, but now you have 4/maybe 5 guys that are on the winners list, and you start to add up how many relievers are they going to go with, different guys. They got to have lefties. Thielbar was better yesterday, I think. Eli Morgan's looked pretty good. Maybe another guy you can depend on.
Yeah. He does have one minor league option left, so he doesn't, doesn't have to make the opening day roster.
I'd rather see him use that when
they just made a trade for him. And he was on the Guardians last year. I think people forget about him because I think we know what he is, which is a middle reliever, 6th, 7th inning guy. He's not going to close
Still need
games
that
or
guy.
anything. Yeah, you definitely need that guy. Like, to be honest, and we'll talk about him, Tyson Miller's been bad this spring. So is Eli Morgan going to take that spot? Because that's a lot of what Tyson Miller last year. Because if he doesn't get it together, he ain't going to be making this team.
We'll get to the losers in a second. There's a couple of other guys that are just sort of in a mid, or I don't know where to put him. Brandon Hughes, 3 innings, no runs. It's a guy we've seen before.
Yep. I don't know what kind of deal he's on off the top of my head, but
Brandon Hughes.
Brandon Hughes. If you want to look that up for us.
Gosh, I'm going to guess it's a minor league deal.
I would guess it is too. Yes.
Minor league contract with spring training invite.
But he's been perfect so far this spring.
And he's got experience with the organization. And he was one of those guys. He's like the opposite of Merriweather. In 23, he was hurt.
Correct.
Right? But in 22, when he debuted, he was actually, like, we felt pretty good about him going into 23, right? So he's just, I don't have the numbers in front of me of what he did with the Diamondbacks last year, but we've seen him have success with the Cubs. And he's a left-handed arm. So considering, I don't know, they don't have a ton of left-handed options right now.
Thielbar's the other one, and he's sort of on my mid list. 4 innings. He gave up 2 runs in his first appearance,
but has been clean
since then. So that's a good look. Got major league experience.
Real quick, Hughes has been terrible, or was terrible, with Arizona last year. 15 games, 17 2/3 innings pitched, 10 K per 9, 5 walk per 9, and then also a 8.15 ERA.
All right, so
they found lightning in a bottle with him when they had him. They had a pretty good little stretch. Now we'll see if that's somebody that impacts this. Daniel Palencia is the one I don't ever know what to make out of him. He's a guy that you could put at the top of the list of guys that are going to break out for the bullpen because he throws so hard.
Yeah.
But then he's a guy that you could just say that we've got nothing here. He just can't put it all together.
He's just got to find that consistency because the guy throws gas, dude. I ain't giving up on him yet. You throw as hard as he has or he does, like, I'm not giving up on something like that. So we'll see.
Losers in the bullpen, Caleb Killian and Cody Poteet have already been optioned. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to count them as losers. They're not making it. They've already been optioned down. They're not going to do it. The mayor hasn't had the best spring, Keegan Thompson. Mm-hmm. Somebody that we pull for hard.
When we launched, he was one of the few things that was fun about the 2022 Cubs.
He made us want to sing One Shining Moment, right? Sure. That's how good he was. Mm-hmm. He made you want to sing after him. Well, you nicknamed him the mayor. Even his family knew that he was the mayor.
I don't even remember why I nicknamed him the mayor. Maybe it was it's because this is when I didn't have a grudge for against Wilson Contreras. It was because the Brewers threw at Wilson Contreras for like the 1,000th time, and then the next inning, Keegan Thompson threw at Andrew McCutchen, and then it like almost started a brawl. And then the way he got thrown out and the way he walked off the mound, I was like, yeah, that guy should be the mayor of Chicago.
EvilWax73 in the live YouTube chat says, I would move on from Keegan Thompson, Tyson Miller, and Ethan Roberts. There have been high hopes over the years for Ethan Roberts, a lot of injuries. Keegan Thompson, sort of up and down. Tyson Miller, I'll be honest, I was optimistic about this, and I don't want to put too much into his spring, but everybody knows he's got to be on the losers list right now. Right now, he'd be pitching his way out of the bullpen.
Yeah. For reference,
at least to start the season.
For reference, Palencia still has 2 more minor league options. So just when it comes to these roster decisions, if you have options, you can go to Iowa if you're not pitching well, right? So anyway, as far as those three you just mentioned in terms of Ethan Roberts, Keegan, and Tyson Miller, I mean, Gary points it out. Ethan Roberts is on a minor league deal as well, so I believe he can just go. He can just start in Iowa as well. I don't really know what to make of Tyson Miller, man. Because the guy, like,
it's good last year.
If he didn't come to the Cubs last year, the Cubs probably don't win 80 games. You know, like I don't really know what to make of it. But
I believe the actual number was 83.
It was.
I can't even do it anymore.
Why don't we make a Clark bobblehead at this point? We should just make a Clark bobblehead like the Les Grobstein one that speaks. And just have one.
83. Oh, that was pretty good.
Thank you. I practiced it a bit.
So
real quick, I know we're doing winners and losers, Cody, just to throw you guys completely off. There was a lot of talk about the Cubs acquiring Jesus Luzardo from the Marlins this year. Winner today, Jesus Luzardo's first inning against the Tigers. Phenomenal stuff, averaging 97 miles per hour. Loser of today, Jesus Luzardo's second inning, where he's given up 3 straight home runs and 6 runs to the Tigers.
I feel better about that then. I feel better. Not to be mean, but I feel a little bit better.
That fits my narrative I like to push there, Sean. Thank you. I love a good narrative push.
That's bad Cubby karma.
You know, like tomorrow I'll be at Sloan Park rooting for Kyle Tucker to strike out 3 more times, all right? We got a narrative to push. We need the good. We need to get all the bad out before Japan, all right? Anyway, Ethan Roberts, nice kid, dude. Super nice guy. I'm rooting for him. Coming back from Tommy John. Came into the back, pitched second half of the last season. Someone in the chat mentioned, like, the velocity hasn't came back.
Evil Wax is saying that he used to hit 97. Now he's 91, 92.
He's only pitched 3 innings. So, like, and I haven't watched them. I think I've watched 1 of the 3 innings. I think the velocity is a thing there. If he doesn't get back to that upper 90s velocity, then that makes that's a problem. I think he has got a great slider, sweeper, whatever you want to call it, but yeah, I don't know, man. Like, would I rather have him over Tyson Miller? I think my heart says yes, but I'm not sure.
You're a little more invested emotionally
in
Ethan Roberts.
I am.
From being a prospect name that you heard, he came out, everybody was waiting for him to get here. You're more emotionally invested in him. Yeah. For some reason, I don't know why. Are you this way? I'm more invested in Ethan Roberts than I am in Caleb Killian, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
Like, Killian's already down, but I feel like we know what Caleb Killian is, even though at one point we sat here and it was like we were begging the Cubs to call him up because he was the future. Yeah. Do you feel that way? Are you more invested in Ethan Roberts trying to make it than you are in, say, some other prospect?
Well, Caleb Killian is an interesting situation because if you remember, if you're a real sicko, you remember he had a great spring last year before he got hurt.
Right.
And then he didn't pitch in the majors until like late September last year. And so, like, there's just not enough to, like, be able to answer the question of, is he a guy? Is he someone that can be part of your winning organization in 2025? He was part of such a big trade in the Chris Bryant trade. We've already talked enough about Canario and how that was a failure. So I guess the reasons I have belief in Killian still and the reasons I have belief or hope in Ethan Roberts are different. They're not the same comparison to me. Ethan Roberts coming off Tommy John surgery. Killian, not an injury like that, but I haven't forgot about the Arizona Fall League that he had in 2022 or 2023, whatever year it was, before he got hurt.
They all blend together. Yeah, they're all 83 win seasons.
I've seen Caleb Killian have success, and I've seen him be bad. I've seen Ethan Roberts have success, and I've seen the velocity not be where he wants it to be. So, I don't know. Would I say they're far apart from each other? No. But their situations are certainly a lot different, in my opinion.
We've seen a lot of the Mayor Keegan Thompson, too. It's interesting as a fan of a baseball team to see which players, for whatever reason, you may have not even met any of them or anything like that, to see which guys you're invested in and really cheering for. And the other guy may have done absolutely, in this case, Tyson Miller has done absolutely nothing wrong. I like the way he pitched. Am I more invested in Tyson Miller or Keegan Thompson? I would like to see Keegan Thompson succeed a little bit more. I don't know why. That's just the way it is.
Well, he's been through a lot of tough seasons here.
Keegan Thompson won me over when he blew the bubble after he hit McCutchen.
Yeah.
Wasn't that who he plunked in that game? Yeah. Okay. And we have that GIF or meme or whatever you want to call it of him, just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
Throws his chain to the side. He won over a lot of Cubs fans that day. It hasn't all been roses since then. So I hope
his 23 was bad. He spent a lot of in the minors second half. I thought he was a little bit better last season. But I just don't think he's been the same as he was in 22 when we launched. At any point, I don't think there's been the consistency that he was given the Cubs in 2022, the last two seasons. So it's tough for me to say that Keegan is going to make the roster based off history and based off the guys the Cubs brought in. You know, they brought in more veteran guys who have proven it, who have had success. And they have younger guys too that are, or are coming. So
it's a reminder to everybody. Small sample size at the major league level does not tell the story most of the time, right? Like, think of all the guys. That's why I'm totally in on PCA. But remember, it's a small sample size. Don't forget that there could be moments of regression for players. Michael Busch has been off to a great start. It's one season is a small sample size. A guy can be the rookie of the year and the next year not nearly be close to that player.
Sure. Giovanni Soto, I know.
But I mean, we sat here for moments where we were talking about Keegan Thompson. Was like, what a weapon. I don't know if I wanted to be a starter or just the guy that pitches 3 innings every other night.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like, what a weapon they have. And he hasn't been able to piece it all together since those moments where, and maybe some of it was luck. Baseball has a ton of it in there where he's getting ground balls and they're going to somebody. But there was something about Keegan Thompson early on that made us even throw a nickname at him.
Yeah. Well, and also we were just looking for anything to be excited about in 2022.
We were, but he was very effective.
Yeah.
He got the job done.
I still think Tyson Miller is a little bit more of a concern than Keegan Thompson because it's not like Keegan Thompson is doing anything that I'm really surprised about. Tyson Miller, as we said, was a big addition to the roster mid-season last year. And to see him be as bad as he's been this spring, I can't sit here and say that it's not like me making the joke about Kyle Tucker. It's a lot different with Tyson Miller for me. EvaWax 73, you are 100% right about this. These two guys were in the same conversation. So funny that at one point we were thinking Keegan was going to be a top-tier starter and Steele was a good bullpen candidate. Yep. We were talking about which guy is better used as a starter and which guy is going to be better used as this lethal bullpen arm. Steele grabbed it and ran away with the starter, right? But there was a time, if you just looked at the small sample size, some people would have said, Keegan Thompson could be that guy. Keegan Thompson could be that guy. And so just keep that in mind this season as we watch baseball. Don't always view it as one game. Don't always view it as 1 week or 1 month. Remember that it always has to be expanded out before it tells you the real story. That all said, when we're talking about these guys, they're not the same as talking about PCA or Michael Busch.
No, and right now we're talking about 4 appearances in the Cactus League.
That's true.
We're listing guys, which is probably not fair. We're listing them as winners and losers of the Cactus League so far, and we're talking about 4 outings, one of which we don't know. They could have been working with Tommy Hotovy on one specific thing.
That's true.
And that could be the game where they gave up Keegan Thompson 2 home runs.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
But likely the eyeball test tells you that Tyson Miller's probably not had the spring that he's hoping he would have had.
Yeah.
All right. We're talking about exceeding projections. I don't know what the projections are for all those guys in the bullpen. But we have a Cubs player that I think is an easy one to figure out. All right, what can you expect from him? We talked about third base, and we talked about the other day how the home runs for projections was higher combined for Workman and Shaw than I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to factor in that Justin Turner's been taking a lot of ground balls there and working, and don't expect him to see it play a ton there, but he is another name that could be factored in over at third base. In general, his projections are fun, but before we show the projections, did you see the quotes he made? You don't have to show these, Sean. The quotes he made about
Don't worry, I already showed them, and then you said, we don't have to show these.
Oh, sorry. All right, well, then let's just do the projection, Sean.
No, go into the Turner thing. It's fine.
The quotes are amazing. I can't remember the last time I saw a guy on the Cubs blasting his former team like I see this. He said about his time in Seattle, honestly, as much as I wanted to be back there, if I was the only piece they brought back in, I would be saying the same thing. What the hell are you doing? Are you trying? There's not going to be a better time to go for it. So I don't know what they're doing. I'm very confused. It's a head scratcher for me. If you take that quote and start it at, what the hell are you doing? Are you trying? There's not going to be a better time to go for it. I don't know what they're doing. I'm very confused. It's a head scratcher for me. Haven't we heard that same quote about the Cubs this offseason from a lot of people?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it was kind of, I mean,
I thought the quote was copy and pasted from something about the Cubs earlier when they didn't get Bregman.
Well, whenever we talk about who's had, like, when we talk about, like, good, like, winners and losers of the offseason, the Mariners are arguably the biggest loser of the offseason because I mentioned it earlier. They arguably have the best starting rotation in all of baseball, and those guys are all controllable outside of Luis Castillo, meaning that they're getting high-end talent out of starting rotation for a very, very cheap price, and they're not going for it. Like, they need bats.
They're not.
They need bats, so I don't blame Justin Turner for saying what he said, and I don't blame him for saying that he wanted to come back there because they were, to me, they were really like a few bats away from being a legit, at least ALCS contender based off the pitching staff that they have. And they did nothing. When we talked to the guys from the Mariners podcast, Marine Layer, the Marine Layer podcast, like, we talked afterwards after the show for like a few minutes, and I mean we were all sitting here saying he was saying the same things about the ownership group there as we sit here and talk about Tom, and this is not some sort of like sugarcoat to Tom Ricketts, but man, what's going on in Seattle's, it does make me feel better about what the Cubs are doing right now, at least. But man, it's just tough situation there if you're a Mariners fan.
And to even the conversation out, I agree. The Cubs have had a better offseason. Chicago is not Seattle. The Chicago Cubs are not the Mariners. So to me, there should also be a slightly different expectation.
Oh, that's true.
So I think that is also fair as well. So the projections for one Justin Turner this year. Last year, his batting average 259, 11 home runs, 354 OBP, a 117 WRC plus, and a 1.2 WAR. This year, well, the numbers are down. We do expect it. The guy's 40. But going 259 down to a 252 batting average isn't going to change your life. He's not an everyday starter, so his OBP going from 354 to 333, whatever. 11 home runs to 8. Well, I'd prefer the 11 home runs, but again, you're not talking about somebody that's going to play every single day. Would I like to see him at least be a 1 F-WAR player? Yeah. So maybe the decline is I'd like something in between there.
Yeah.
But we're also hearing people talk about the value that he's bringing already as a veteran, talking to players about their at-bats, their approach, their training habits, their day-to-day activities, how they plan their days out, all of those things. I still think it's a good signing. I know some people say he's old and he's a has-been, but I think he might be the right fit for what they're looking for there.
The only thing about the projections that makes me raise an eyebrow or I guess kind of have concern is Fangraphs projects 357 plate appearances.
Mm-hmm.
And when they signed him, I think we sat here and were like, I think it's good if it's 250 to 300.
What did he have last year for plate appearances?
539. He had 539 last year.
That's a lot.
Between Seattle and Toronto.
Right.
The year before, 626 with Boston. But that he was still a really solid hitter these last 2 years, right? I think, you look at the rest of it, 18.9% walk rate or K rate, 9.4% walk rate. Like, yeah, he's still probably going to be a solid bench bat that can get on base for you.
What, Sean? He's shaking his head.
Because I saw that you used the wrong projections again. You used the FGDC one.
Whatever one I use is the right one, Sean.
No. Zips is the right one to use.
All right,
and
so
Zips has him projected having about 100 more plate appearances and has him at that one WAR landmark.
Well, then that is the right one. That is the right one. That's the one I was looking for.
Listen,
why didn't you put that on the graphic?
Because you gave me the bad number. I thought I told you where to get the right number.
I think this was made so many days ago that I didn't know that there was a different number, that there wasn't supposed to be a good
When
number.
I looked it up and realized, we're not doing Zips for these ones, even though we've done Zips all week. Okay, we'll just play along with it. I was doing a really good
Listen,
acting
I
job
probably didn't have my readers on, and I read the wrong line. Forgive me.
I mean, if there's one thing, to fit our narrative,
he's a one-WAR player.
To fit our narrative, Zips does have him with a 112 WRC plus, which is better than any of the other projections. But mostly, it's not that different.
So the Cubs are going to win 90.
Has him at 11 homers, too.
Yeah.
Oh, it does?
The most homers and the highest WRC plus, and yes, a one-WAR player. But overall, it's
I
not
like
much
these
different.
Zip guys.
They pretty much say that he's going to be the exact same player. He's just going to play less games.
Yeah.
Which I think is possible if you think Workman's going to get some work.
Total.
Now, is this a computer or is this a human?
It's a computer.
This is a computer program programmed by a human, Dan Szymborski.
Wonderful. I like Dan. I've always liked Dan. Good guy. And I've always liked his computer programs.
We should have him on the show sometime.
Dan,
you can tell
us about the computers. Do you remember I used to have a Commodore? All right. Anyways.
I agree with Evil X. Geesh, Stucky's human.
Exactly. Nobody thought I was.
You got a floppy disk stuck in your Commodore?
I had lots of floppy disks. Yeah. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. Cody is gone tomorrow and getting on a Whmo in Arizona.
Who are you gonna do the show with?
I'm not sure who I'm doing it with, but I have a special guest.
Oh, that's a tease.
That will be joining me via the some kind of internet.
In the second half of tomorrow's show.
Second half of tomorrow's show. Got a special guest lined up.
Let this be
all
a
I
meme.
can say. You're going to be excited. Woo, woo! CHGO Cubs. See you tomorrow, 1:30. Fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.